we don't need to talk about how perfectionism leads to burnout and makes us miserable. We already know it too well.
Hey, Editing Asia here. So this video is actually was originally part of the half-ass video that I posted last week, and it got too long, and I just felt like this little perfectionist ramble would be good enough on its own. So enjoy the ride. And if you haven't already watched that video, it's up here, and also I'll link it in the description as well. I hope you have a chance to check that out. And if you just came across this video randomly, hello, I'm Asia. I'm a momentum coach and an AuDHDer, and I work with neurodivergent, overachieving, ambitious, multi-passionate folks, and we all could use more tips and thoughts and encouraging words around perfectionism.
This whole thing is really about where practically can we reduce our perfectionism? Where can we find some ways to minimize burnout cycles? And instead of saying, I don't want to be trapped in perfectionism, we have to find some active ways to deal with those perfectionist ideas. And so wherever we can find ways to deal with those perfectionist feelings, those perfectionist tendencies in a way that is active and has some language around it. For me, it's always about like, don't say what you don't want to do, say what you do want to do. I do this all the time, and sometimes I have to say it out loud, whether it's to myself or somebody else, but that I'm just doing a good enough job on this because I have other things that need my limited executive function resources, my limited brain power, my limited energy, my very limited attention and focus. So this is not going to be the thing. When I was really actively trying to work on exploring my perfectionism and what I could do about it, I started approaching it from a really silly way. Contrary to many ADHD stereotypes, I'm pretty tidy. My neurodivergent partner and I both value having the house be tidy. So things are rarely just around, like on the floor or whatever. And so I started just like throwing stuff on the floor pretty temporarily, like minutes, maybe an hour. But it's sort of like I was trying to train myself to tolerate things being out of place or things not being just right. And that was really helpful, actually, partially because I knew how ridiculous it was to just like take a piece of trash and just throw it on the floor, or to throw my dirty clothes on the floor, like those kinds of things. Like I would do it with such kind of comical intention, just to really let it sink in that I know I'm doing this and I'm doing this kind of for fun. Even though it also doesn't feel good. And so a little while later, I go and put it away or put it in the trash or wherever the thing went. But yeah, kind of easing into this idea of I don't like these perfectionist tendencies that I have. They feel icky. And what can I do to not have that? And, we have high standards, and that's fine. It's okay to have high standards. It's common that we'll say something like, oh, I'm going to try my best, or I did try my best. And I just think we don't need to try our best all the time. Our best is hard work, it's a lot to do to give our best. And again, not everything deserves it. And we don't always need to put that much energy into something just to get it done. My partner has told me many times, they said, like, you're so productive and you put so much into your work that you are doing the work of at least one and a half people, or you're doing the work that needs doing in half the time or whatever. And often throughout my life, people have said like, oh, you could do anything and you're so fast, you're doing so much stuff. When in our society, those things are often really praised as, something to feel good about. And I think sometimes that's okay, but it really started to get to me, like all of those seeming compliments, because I was trying so hard. Like I was tired and I was doing so much, and I wasn't getting paid for the amount of effort I was putting in. I wasn't always getting even recognized for the amount of effort I was putting in. It was just more of a like, oh wow, you're so good at that. And it's just like that sucks. That sucks to like not get recognized, compensated appropriately. And then when you start looking around and you see what other people are doing and sometimes not doing well, and like that pisses me off. So if I want to put in an 80% effort to things that don't deserve 100%, and 80% is the bar that I make because, uh, 70% feels like too little. I was pretty much a straight A student. High B's were acceptable. C's were definitely not on the table. So I think I only have ever made one C grade in my life. But anyway, one of the things I did at my last job, um, partially because there were a lot of, I mean, I think a lot of people's jobs involve a lot of emails. And I also know a lot of people get super hung up on the emails, and it's just not worth the anxiety of that to me. So one of the things I started doing was just like, I would just like reply to emails as soon as possible. I would not worry too much about correct grammar or spelling, or I mean, I had the plugins so they would tell me if there was something wrong, but I didn't worry too much about like it being just right. I would just get it. I would just focus on getting it done because there's more emails to deal with. And for the most part, people don't care. And when I would see the emails I would get from, higher ups or other colleagues and see how kind of just mediocre they all were, that gave me even more permission to just be like, I can lower my own bar, you know. Like I want to be at the same bar they are at least. I don't need to prove myself. I'm not trying to one up anybody with my email. The email is not my work product. Like the content of the email could be. The things that I do outside of the email are the work product. So that's where ultimately more of my effort and attention needs to go. So if that's you with the emails, we could talk about this a different time, but there's some tools and things that might be helpful for emails and writing and reviewing things. But if you're interested in a video more about some of these like productivity tools and things like that, let me know, drop it in the comments. And nothing's going to be perfect, even when we try our absolute hardest. There's always going to feel like there's more that we could do, or there's more we should have done. And after we are completed with something, we might realize there's something else we would do. And you can do something differently the next time. All the things we're doing are works in progress. We're always learning, we're growing, we're figuring things out as we go. And it's okay to just let go a little bit and just do an okay job. Just an okay job at something, anything. Please, but intentionally. Don't do it and then feel bad. Do it with intention. Do it saying like, yeah, I'm just going to do an okay job at this.
That's all for today. See you next time.